recapping yesterday while looking ahead to today's sports day.
But I bet you many of his coaches probably haven't. They're like, who is this? What is this Mayberry that you speak of, right?
This is the Morning Drive Podcast.
Sign me up. Get your popcorn ready.
From Double T 97.3.
We'll have high school football for you tomorrow night. Frenship plays on the road at Cleveland in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. We learned yesterday via the text line. I'm just going to take it for what it's worth that the school is named for the superintendent.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not in Rio Rancho. That's home game.
Oh. Okay, well, I'd packed a picnic, you know. You're right. It's a home game.
That 5 o'clock, that 5:30 start is just completely messing with him.
It's really been struggle bus city.
It really is.
It's early, so they're not home at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's why they're starting
the Rio
early.
Rancho kids. See,
It's early, so they don't get home at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I had it all backwards. So
we've told you several times this week. We're trying to help you here.
I know, it just did not get through my cranium.
Say right now, the game is early.
Okay, I got it.
No, say it right now. The game is early.
The game is early.
So the New Mexico kids
can
get home early. There we go.
I got it. See, I was thinking about going to Rio Rancho, New Mexico and check out Cleveland.
You can still go. There just won't be anybody there.
Anybody there. I'd be in the stands all by myself. That'd be embarrassing.
It'd be a long drive, kind of wasted.
Right. It'd be embarrassing. So we'll have that game from the Tigers' place tomorrow at 5:30 with a kickoff at 6 o'clock. How's that, Jeff? Is that better?
Exponentially better, yes.
Okay, thank you. Good God Almighty. Boy, if it says it right here. I don't know. And it says it right there on the board. I just couldn't, I don't know. It was just the connector dots just weren't working for me. I can tell you tonight, Estacado is playing at West Plains High School. That's in Amarillo. And that's the only LISD school that's playing tonight. Okay? So, Matadors coming off a win. They'll play tonight. They won last week against Levelland, 39-13. So we'll have also tomorrow night Coronado versus Caprock. That'll be a home game for the Mustangs here in Lubbock. Okay. 6:45 and then 7 o'clock is the kickoff. Raiders 316 says this: I have my entire Sunday open. Wife knows it and has given me a honey-do list. Sorry about you. This, Chuck, need the red zone. Sunday football watching is so much better that way. No, I like watching the game. I like watching the game. And I know there's for some people that they love the red zone, and I guess there's a pseudo red zone version for college. Not per se, but I mean there's some places where you can go and get just the highlights. But I prefer the game. I like watching the game. Mm-hmm. I like seeing.
You get more of the tidbits then. You
really do, and as you well know, I'm a big fan of the tidbit. Mm-hmm. So I think those are the side stories. Sometimes
it's too bad your name's not like Tom or Tim.
Oh,
so we could call you Tommy Tidbit. Timmy Tidbit.
Timmy Tidbit.
Chucky Tidbit just doesn't
seem to work. Speaking of tidbit, here's a little tidbit for you from the Philadelphia Eagles game that normally I wouldn't have cared anything about, but a guy by the name of Britton Covey is not a very good salesperson. He is a player for the Philadelphia Eagles, but he's a punt returner. But when he went to park his car in the players' parking lot at Lincoln Financial Field, all he had was a practice players' parking pass, and he couldn't sell his way into the players' parking lot for the Monday night game at the Link. He said the parking attendants didn't even know who he was, which is certainly understandable. He said, to no fault of theirs, I had the practice squad pass. My teammates told me, just tell them you were elevated to the active roster and they'll let you in. But I could tell they didn't quite recognize me when I told them I was elevated. Can you imagine that? You're talking to the parking guy. Hey, I was elevated. Mm-hmm. And that guy's like, okay, Mac, hey, This is for players. So what he had to do is he had to park in the main lot, and he had to park a half a mile away. And basically, he just kind of soaked in the tailgate scene. He said, I liked it. I had to park with the grinders out about a half mile away with the tailgaters and walk through. I thought it was a blast. Honestly, it's kind of like college. He said some of the fans did actually recognize him and were able to point him in the right direction. And there's photographic evidence that backs him up.
That's a really cool perspective. Good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, good for him.
He made it to work on time. He returned 3 punts for 14 yards. He said he'd like to play better next time, acknowledging he didn't play my best on Monday night. So
Probably because of that long walk. He's probably exhausted.
I'm out there with the grinders.
Look at his perspective on,
Sure.
I got to take it all in compared to Patrick Ewing's. They
Yeah.
made me pull my badge out of my bag.
Right.
And what was the term he used?
He said, he pointed to the banners up
He didn't
there.
say assaulted, but he he acted like he
Yeah.
had, he was so offended that they
Yeah.
made him pull a badge out of a bag.
Yeah.
I mean, ludicrous, man.
Somebody asked this question. Hey, Chuck, how was the hamburger cookout yesterday? I thought it was pretty good. I did what I needed to do. I cooked some burgers for everybody, and hopefully everybody enjoyed them. So, I don't know how they. I know this. On Highest was at the event yesterday at lunch, and he finished lunch before me and offered up his chair because we had just some limited seating. And then he kind of looked back at me and said, I guess if you're at budget, you can go cook hamburgers. I said, yeah. And I said, and I am. And he's like, okay, I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
So I was like, okay.
See, that's the story how cool Chuck is, because Brad gave him his chair and said he was at budget.
He was just done eating.
And he's still at budget.
This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. That was a gasp there. If Shuck is healthy, do you think they bench Smith?
Like if he was healthy right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
I think Tyler Shuck would absolutely be starting.
Would Tech fans feel comfortable with any lead Saturday until it's over? I'm going to tell you no.
Yeah, no, because of what happened two games ago.
Yeah.
Last time they were here.
I'd say I'd feel good about
2020.
a 40-point lead with 2 minutes to play. I'd feel safe then. That I would feel safe about.
Yeah,
I don't think
would.
we could mess that one up.
I would.
Yeah.
That might be as low as I would go.
I clearly felt really confident, after Sir Roderick's running down the sideline like, hey, we're going to win this ball game.
He was thinking about the Christmas cards.
I was. I know that you don't think people do that.
I'm sure that in the history of ever, people have done that. I am 100% certain that they have. I just don't think at the rate that you claim.
Okay.
Like, I believe it's possible that you've received a Christmas card with that picture. Mm-hmm. I don't believe you've probably received more than 2.
You're probably right about that.
And you act like it's,
Well,
I've got a litany. People are waiting in line over there.
at the Christmas card shop, right?
Yes.
Right. With their double T scoreboard.
Like the Christmas cards come in, you hang them up on the wall, and 25 of them are the same.
I've got
just with different people in them.
this whole Christmas card discussion yesterday started me thinking about my Christmas lights. And my Christmas light guy told me that they weren't going to put up my lights next year because they are done doing the traditional bulb. I've either got to find somebody new, or I've got to go to the, fluorescent. What is it? The LEDs, which I just don't like. I don't like the LEDs. But I may be forced into embracing that technology.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Getting you up and getting your sports day started.
I could wear a good-looking suit, and I could speak eloquently on his behalf.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast.
And then you'll take your remote and you'll push the button.
Okay.
And then magically the game will appear.
From Double T 97.3.
Time for this day in sports history. It's 9/22/22. Here's Jeff McGuire.
So I guess we have to ask, though, because we haven't asked this question yet today. Did you guys have a night to remember last night?
No, not really.
We failed.
Not really. I mean, it was pedestrian.
Yeah, we failed. Earth, Wind, and Fire told us not to forget last night.
Yeah, no.
It's forgettable. 1911. Boston Bruins future Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher Cy Young beats the Pittsburgh Pirates 1-0 at Forbes Field for his final victory, number 511.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's like a record or something.
Or something.
1920, Chicago grand jury convenes to investigate charges that 8 White Sox players conspired to fix the 1919 World Series. I'm going to go ahead and break some news here.
Yeah.
They didn't find him guilty.
But they,
A Chicago grand jury investigated something about the Chicago White Sox in the 1920s. Right.
But they still got suspended.
Still got suspended.
Forever.
And today even. 1927, the long count. The infamous boxing match. Gene Turney beats Jack Dempsey by 10 rounds unanimous decision at Soldier Field, Chicago, Chicago, to retain the World Heavyweight title. Crowd of 104,943. The gate in 1927 was $2,858,660. 1959, Chicago White Sox clinch the AL pennant. 1961, Baltimore Orioles Jim Gentle ties a record of 5 grand slams in a single season.
Wow.
He was lucky and good.
Had some teammates that got on base in front of him a bunch.
That's right.
I bet that offense scored a lot of runs.
1969, speaking of scoring a lot of runs, Giants' Willie Mays becomes the second player to hit 600 home runs.
And I think a lot of people thought then that he'd be the guy that would break Bruce's record.
Probably so.
1985, Billy Martin breaks his arm gets his arm broken by pitcher Ed Winston. I wonder why that happened.
Oh, Ed Whitson, and he got into a fight, obviously. But Whitson
wasn't it not at the ballpark?
Yeah,
Wasn't
I think
it like at breakfast or something.
It was really
at the hotel.
It's really bizarre. But
I think that's the story I remember.
1986, LA Dodger Fernando Valenzuela is the first Mexican-born pitcher to win 20 games.
Man, he was fun. Blowing the bubble, looking the opposite direction. That was cool.
1990, Andre Dawson steals his 300th base and is the only player other than Willie Mays to have 300 home runs, 300 steals, and 2,000 hits.
It's just hard to even fathom Andre Dawson having 300 steals when you just remember him at the end of his career. He was so lame. I mean, he's still a really good hitter, but it was just, I mean, his knees were just killing him. But what a great player.
And in 1993, Texas Ranger Nolan Ryan at 46 pitches his last game.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for you to tell your Seattle story about the tickets.
no,
It's a good story.
I'll save it for next year.
Still,
Talking about my tickets that I bought from the Mariners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good story.
Yeah, I bought tickets. I have 2 tickets, unused tickets from that game that the Mariners sold, because that was at the old Kingdom. They had 50,000 seats, and they made money off of Nolan's injury.
It is National Ice Cream Cone Day.
Cake or sugar,
Or waffle.
waffle, whatever. Yeah, whatever. You want.
Why are you making me pick between my children?
Oh.
They didn't do anything wrong. They are perfectly fine all on their own. They all do things great.
I prefer the cake.
I'm a cake guy. Yep, I'm sure that surprises no one. I'm not a huge waffle cone guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll eat them every once in a while, but I much prefer this to plain old Jane cake.
Happy birthday
And I
to
love it too. Man, I love it. I mean, I love the bottom of ice cream cone.
Oh, when it gets nice, a little soft there.
Well, no, I'm just saying get rid of the top where it's just all ice cream and get to the part where you have ice cream and the cake cone. And you're, oh man, that's greatness.
Happy birthday to Tom Felton, who was Malfoy in Harry Potter. Joan Jett, 64. Billy Piper, who's Rose from Doctor Who, is 40. Scott Baio, 62. Carlos Correa, 28. And Bonnie Hunt is 61. And on this day in 1862, President Abraham Lincoln issues a preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, which set a date for the freedom of more than 3 million enslaved in the United States, and reacts the Civil War as a fight against slavery. And that is this day in sports history.
Okay, so going back to the Ed Whitson-Billy Martin fight.
Okay.
So Whitson was signed by the Yankees as a free agent for the 85 season. He got off to a terrible start. He got a big contract then, $4.4 million. It was a 5-year deal. Got off to a terrible start. Then had verbal abuse, hate mail, to the point where he wouldn't let his wife go to the game. So Whitson on September 20th gets pulled from a start by Martin, gave up 4 runs in 2 innings. And with that, Toronto ends up winning the game, and they end up having a 4.5 game lead in the division. They would go on to win the East that year and then go on to play in the American League Championship Series, obviously. So on the 22nd, Whitson and Martin got into a heated argument that spread to other parts of the hotel. The argument was in the bar. Results in a broken ulna for Billy Martin in his right arm and a bruised right side. Whitson suffered a cracked rib and a split lip.
That doesn't sound like an argument to me.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fist fight.
A brawl, yeah. Yeah.
Argument is when you yell at each other.
The Yankees...
That was a fight.
The Yankees, after the season, traded Whitson to the Padres for Tim Stoddard. Tommy John thought Whitson had trouble handling the intense pressure and media coverage of New York. Yeah, no doubt.
Appeared that way.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and Martin would get fired, and then they would hire Lou Piniella, and he had a pretty good run there with the Yankees. Pretty good, not great.
What years? I mean, the 80s were horrible for the Yankees.
You're probably right about that. Yeah.
I mean, they were terrible.
Yeah, it was not good for him. All right, 6:53 this morning here on the morning drive. Somebody says this waffle bowl is the way to go. Okay. PJ asked.
I don't hate it. I just like the cake cone.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. PJ asked this question. What do you put the over-under on Baron Morton's snaps at quarterback on Saturday? I'm putting it at 15 based upon the fact they're splitting reps. Tells me the leash for Donovan is very short, which you've said for several days now. That you think?
That's a good question, PJ.
And these are snaps at quarterback, not just snaps.
Yeah.
I guess I tend to feel like if he's going to be in there, he's going to be in there for longer. Meaning, you're not going to make a change to start the fourth quarter, right?
I don't think so.
If you're going to make a change, it's going to be no later than the start of the second half.
Okay.
And so what did he say, 15?
15.
So there's 2 questions there. Do I think he's going to enter the game? And B, if I do think he's going to enter the game, is it going to be earlier than the scenario where it would only take 15 snaps? Okay. So to answer the question, I first have to figure out, do I think he's going to be in? Which means, do I think Donovan's going to have struggles and get benched?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say no.
Less than 15 snaps?
I'm going to say 0.
0?
At quarterback.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Jeff?
I mean, if you're making that change, you are moving on from Donovan Smith, period.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. All right, we'll see. We'll see what transpires. That might be a good tiebreaker question for upon further review tomorrow. Which, by the way, you're responsible for the picks because you're the big winner.
Jeff always takes care of that for me.
Big plays and even bigger laughs.
If they get 7 out of those 2 things, game over. Mm-hmm. You're not winning. You're not winning that game at all.
This is the Morning Drive podcast.
Basketball players who don't wear the
shoes.
The shoes that
Right.
match the uniform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Match the color scheme of the team they play for.
From Double T 97.3.
Nice to have you with us this morning on Lubbock Sports Station. So really, the feature back for Texas, Bijan Robinson, is a handful. The last time he was here in Lubbock in 2020, Jamie, he toted the ball quite a bit. 18 carries for 137 yards, ripped off a 33-yarder. He's a guy that already this year has had rushing performances of 71 against ULM. Against Alabama, they really kept him in check. 21 carries, 57 yards, did score a touchdown. But then last week against UTSA, 20 carries, 183. Including one for 78 yards, but he averaged 9.2 yards a tote, a handful.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
He's 6 foot. He's 222 pounds. He's a junior. He's a guy that is a lead horse for them, without question. Here's Texas Tech defensive coordinator Tim Deruyter on the Texas running back B.J. Robinson.
Well, from what I've seen, he's probably the best one in the country. He's a very compact runner who is powerful, breaks a ton of tackles. He's a guy that seems to have tremendous vision, whether they're running the outside zone play on when to cut it, when he's running in traffic to make jump cuts or spins. And again, because he's kind of compact, people just bounce off of him. And then when he gets some speed or some space, he's got the speed to take it to the house. So you combine all that, it makes him, I think, a very NFL-looking running back. I think he's going to have a tremendous career in his future. I'm just hoping that we don't add to it this weekend.
Yeah, and for him, obviously staying healthy and being durable. But I think the big challenge for him is that elusiveness and that ability to break out of tackles, which makes him so dangerous. And like he said, can take it to the house for a touchdown.
Yeah, it just feels like, he's got the ability to break tackles, and then once he does that, it's always for a big gain. So, it's really about getting 11 guys running to the football at all times. So you get that first hit on him and don't let up, because that dude's going to run through arm tackles and all that, and make sure the next wave of guys is there to bring him down.
Yeah. A guy that they're really happy with on the Texas Tech side, and a guy that I'm sure that Texas has circled as a guy that they're going to have to contend with, is Tyree Wilson. And Coach Deruyter talks about his improvement, which seems to be each week he seems to be getting better and better.
Well, I think the biggest thing with him is he sets tremendous edges in our run game, which is one of the primary things we ask our edge defenders to do. And then when it's time to rush the passer, he can really collapse a pocket. The thing that I guess probably surprised me the most is how quick he is off an edge when the run's going away from him. When we have him chasing from the backside, we don't always do it, but when he chases, he can get there and make tackles. And yesterday at our unit meeting with the defense, I showed a number of clips of guys on our defense that had to strain to make plays. And we have got quite a few guys who are doing that. We got some guys that have to improve in it, but he was used as a primary example a number of times of the plays where he's blocked, he crosses a block, and then strains to go make a tackle. And we got to get more of our guys playing like that. And I think he just does it naturally.
I thought that was an interesting comment when I heard that first on Monday, strains to make a play. And I guess that you could also kind of extrapolate that to effort, and, doing anything that he can to try to make a play. And sometimes it's that extra little bit, that extra little part of your motor that runs in a player that allows you to make those great plays or to prevent great plays from being made. And Tyree Wilson is certainly a guy that has been able to do that for the Red Raiders so far.
Well, the interesting thing to me in that whole bit was that he started off. I mean, we all spend so much time talking about how good he is getting after the quarterback, but Coach Deruyter started off talking about what he does in their run game. It just shows you how valuable he is to the defense. Not only in getting to the quarterback and putting pressure there, but just being a force to reckon with when other teams are trying to run the football. Clearly, he's going to have a big day if the Red Raiders are going to have a big day.
For Hudson Card, he's 33 of 50 on the season, 343 yards, just thrown a touchdown, no interceptions. And that's something that Coach Deruyter is kind of trying to stress with his defense, that while they've played well, they're not getting the turnovers, and he speaks to that as far as his defense is concerned.
Sometimes it's by circumstance. We got pressure on the quarterbacks. We got to finish on the ball. I think Tyree got a couple positions where he couldn't really, rake on the football. He was, coming off of a block. But we got to get a second and third guy there to go after that ball. We're not seeing a whole lot of throws into coverage because we've got pretty tight coverage at times. And so sometimes it's just a function of who you're playing and what their attack is against you. But regardless of that fact, we're going to continue to harp on getting takeaways. Hopefully we can continue to get pressure on quarterbacks and make them make bad decisions. And when they do that, sometimes they kind of come in groves.
And that would be helpful to get them to turn the ball over a little bit, and whether A, shorten up the field, or B, just get yourself some more offensive snaps. They harped on the +3, have yet to be +3 this season, and the last couple of games have been really in the negative.
It's been a big problem for you. You really haven't, on both sides of the football, right? Because you really haven't forced a lot of turnovers, and you've given up a bunch in the last couple of games. Yeah.
This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Tim Deruyter seems like an A+ hire. Yeah, so far.
I would agree.
I
would agree.
And I think he would tell you that from a defensive standpoint, he inherited a pretty veteran group. They're older on defense. They're more experienced on defense in what Coach Patterson did over the last couple of years. Is probably should not go unlooked at because, I said, I think the cupboard wasn't empty. It wasn't completely full, but it was a lot fuller than a lot of other coaches have inherited when they've come here,
especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Right,
no question.
Yeah, so I think the defense so far has been. I don't know if it's been A+, but it's certainly been in the A's, A-, maybe A. Compared to what we've seen here before. It's substantial improvement.
Yeah, no question.
All right. One last thing from Coach Deruyter. He talked about the 4 Ps of his defense. He talks about this quite a bit, so obviously it's important to him and makes it important to the defense. Here's his 4 Ps of his defense.
Okay, yeah. We talk about preparedness, knowing our defense and then knowing who we're playing so we can play our fastest. Physicality, the actual act of punching, ripping, stripping the ball away. Purpose, and then our last P is what we call population, getting more of our guys to the ball than they have. And when you can get a ball on the ground because of physicality and purpose and those type of things, if we got more guys around it, the way this ball is shaped, it bounces in funny ways, we got a better opportunity to get the takeaway. So those are our 4 Ps.
It was interesting because Coach McGuire alluded to the ball and how it's funny shaped, and then Tim Deruyter referring to the ball, which is oblong, right?
It is,
and it's somewhat odd shaped. It must be a topic of conversation over there at the football facility. The shape of the football.
Well, they're around it a lot.
Yeah, they are. The other thing is, I really like the term population, getting population around the ball. In other words, getting players around the ball. It speaks to, hey, if you see something down there, go after it. And if you got more of your guys there than the other team, you probably have a better chance of getting it than the other team. That's just, it's Captain Obvious stuff, right? But I think when you stress stuff like that and harp on stuff like that and coach to stuff like that, eventually you'll get stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, every defensive coach in the history of ever has talked about 11 guys to the football.
Yeah.
They just use the word population because it's another P.
Yeah, no,
it's
you know me, I like
11 guys to the ball. That's what everybody's preaching. Yeah, 11 guys.
6 rules of dodgeball and 4 P's of turnovers. It's just I'm attracted to things like that.
That's okay.
It makes me.
Makes you tick.
It makes me tick, right? Thank you.
Tick away.
Makes me tick. All right, Jamie's got a question for all of us. Let's see if it gives us the ticks next here this morning on the morning drive. Probably make us think, which is good. Take your thoughts, comments continuously on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app presented by Happy State Bank.
Getting you up and getting your sports day started.
That's me, man.
Wow.
Highly,
impressive.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast.
I'm like the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Because your kids don't want mums?
My oldest is a senior, and I think we made it through without paying for a single mom.
Well, isn't the guy supposed to pay for the mom?
Oh, I don't know.
From Double T 97.3. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is presented by Bizarre Solutions. Call them today for a free cybersecurity audit.
If you were Joan Jett, I'd say hit me with your best shot, but you're not.
I'll fire away.
Okay.
Okay, so today we're going to go Big 12 football this weekend.
Okay.
And I give you 3 games, and I'm not really looking at the lines. I don't know what the lines are, but I give you 3 games where I think there's a significant underdog, in my opinion.
Okay.
Okay? I want you to tell me which of the 3 teams I'm talking about in these games has the best chance to pull off the upset this weekend.
Okay.
So I'm going Iowa State at home versus Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Texas Tech at home versus Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going Kansas State on the road at Oklahoma.
Okay.
Which of those 3 Big 12 teams has a chance to pull the upset in this Big 12 opener for them?
Well, historically speaking, and I realize that history doesn't win football games, but historically speaking, Kansas State always plays Oklahoma extremely close. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If not beats them, okay?
Yep.
If not beats them. Even when they were the worst team in America, they would have the occasional, be leading at halftime. They might end up getting beat by 3 touchdowns, but it'd be like one of those upset alert kind of deals. The Texas thing is really more along the lines of, can your offense be productive against that Texas defense? I know the least about Iowa State and Baylor, but it just seems to me with Iowa State playing at home and how his teams have played generally. So I'm going to say Iowa State and Baylor. I'm going to say Iowa State.
Chuck kind of touched on where I'm going with this one. I think it comes down to the home team being the dog and the home team having the crowd behind them. So that has me looking at Tech versus Texas or Iowa State versus Baylor. And just from where the programs have been to where they are perceived to be now, I would take Iowa State at home versus Baylor.
Okay. I agree. To me, the least likely, even though the history that Chuck spoke of, is Kansas State winning at Oklahoma. I think because the least likely, because I think because of the history, and in recent years you've seen Kansas State get Oklahoma, they're 100% going to be ready for this one. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kansas State played pretty poorly last weekend against Tulane, so who knows? Maybe they're looking for a bounce back, and they're playing really well, but I don't think it's likely. So I do look at the 2 teams that are playing at home, and I guess it boils down to me as I look at the separation between the 2 teams, a.k.a. Iowa State versus Baylor, compared to Texas Tech versus Texas. And I just think Iowa State-Baylor is a closer matchup. And so I'm going to agree with with you guys and say Iowa State to me is the team that has the chance to pull the upset. That being said, I don't feel good for any of the three of them.
Okay. Okay. That's fair.
I mean,
Which
if we were
one-
picking the games right now, I think I'd be picking chalk there as far as the favored teams.
Of the three, which one would surprise you the least that the upset happened? I think it would be Kansas State at Oklahoma. Would be the least surprising of the group.
Oh no, I think it's. No, I think it'd be the most surprising, just from the standpoint that you're playing at Oklahoma. You're coming off of a home loss to Tulane. Oklahoma's, if they're not the best, they're the second best in the Big 12. So I would disagree with you on that.
I don't know. That's tough. It's odd because Kansas State has had that success against them. And also, let's remember, I mean, Kansas State by some was picked to win the conference. By most, picked to finish in the top 3 or 4. So it's not like Kansas State's a bad football team.
Right.
But all of a sudden, they had one bad game against Tulane. And now everybody's opinion in a week has changed on them.
Sure.
Okay?
They seem to have that one bad loss, though.
Every year.
Every
they
year.
do.
And then
in non-conference play, and then they play a
bounce
lot
back.
better.
Yeah.
So even though I think it's the least likely, I think I might actually agree with Jeff here and feel like it wouldn't be the most shocking. I think the most surprising to me would be if the Red Raiders beat Texas.
Okay. Iowa State is a 2.5-point favorite against Baylor at home.
Oh, so they're not even an underdog? You guys feel that way?
No, I don't.
I don't feel that way.
No, I think
I don't.
I don't feel
The
that
two,
way.
the two. Basically, it's a pick'em game because usually, and
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm no betting expert, but generally speaking, 3 points goes to the home team. So,
Iowa State does have their win over Iowa. That's a Power 5 win.
what was it, 10-7 or something like that?
Yeah. Yes.
Real
barn burner.
And Oklahoma's favored by 12.5. This will be one of those games. It's either going to be a single-digit score or it's going to be a blowout. The K-State Oklahoma game.
you think?
Yeah, I do. That's what I think. That's what I do. I mean, Oklahoma's number 6 in the country. Here's the other thing is, their coach went to K-State, so I'm sure that he's gonna fire up the playing against the Purple Pride there. So and he's been. I don't know if he was ever part of an upset of K-State winning at Oklahoma or at home against Oklahoma, but he'll be able to speak to that much better than previous coaches who didn't play there. The chip on your shoulder kind of thing. Hey, don't take these guys for granted. His pregame speech will probably be pretty good. Okay. So that's why I think that this will either be they'll play down to that level or it'll be a blowout. And I'm going to tend to believe it's going to be more of a blowout. As far as our game here, would you be surprised if Tech loses that it's under 10 points?
No.
Okay.
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 22 points.
Okay.
In the low 20s. I'm going to be surprised if you lose by 30.
Do you think?
But, I mean, a low 20s game could be a decently close game where, you're down 10, or 14 most of the game, and then late touchdown happens, whatever. I mean, that's not a blowout to me.
I would be more surprised if Tech winning by 20 than losing by 20 in this game.
You'd be more surprised at them winning by 20 than losing by 20?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
think everybody would.
think that's fair.
Yeah.
My other question for you is, what do you think you're going to have to score in order to win? Do you think you have to top 30, 35?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that too. Yeah. 7:39 this morning here on the morning drive. I'm really interested in this TCU SMU game.
Me too.
The whole Sonny Dykes going back to SMU, and The battle for the skillet, I think, is what they do. And TCU's 2-0, and SMU's 2-1. TCU is favored by 2 in this game. I know
who I want to win. I just don't have any idea who I think is gonna win.
You want SMU to win?
Oh goodness, yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. The other thing that I think is really laughable right now, I think it's laughable, is this.
And I want SMU to knock over an old coach from TCU again.
Okay.
Just pick a different old guy and knock him over.
The other thing that I think is just laughable right now is this talk about Lance Leopold going to Nebraska. I think there was a discussion on one of the shows the other day about who was more likely to go, Leopold, who would be the better choice, or who would be more likely to go, Leopold or Matt Campbell. Man, I think if I'm Nebraska, I go after the proven winner in Matt Campbell.
Leopold has done a great job. So
I know, but he's like a year and 3 games in.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I don't know. It's just
that fast. He's made Kansas not be a joke.
Yeah, maybe
and
so.
Matt Campbell has had lots of opportunities to leave, and he's still there.
He's still there.
Much to our chagrin.
They ponied up for him, haven't they?
Recapping yesterday while looking ahead to today's sports day. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Have Ranger Baseball on the air for you this afternoon. They take on the Los Angeles Angels. This will come to us from Arlington. We'll have it for you on 100.7 The Score. Then the Astros and the Tampa Bay Rays, early evening, 5:35, 6:10 first pitch tonight on 100.7 The Score. Look for Aaron Dickens and Mike Gustafson today at Twin Peaks. And they'll be there this afternoon, spouting their opinions and giving you their thoughts on Texas Tech and Texas. So look for the boys today from 3 until 6, and then Red Raider football with Joey McGuire. And I said this earlier, you always learn something new. I don't care who the coach has been, and we've had this show on our station with the head coach for a number of years now, really going back to Coach Leach in 2007, and always learn something that I didn't know, either about the coach, the team, the game, or a player. So it's worth your time. Okay. And you would say, well, you would put it on, it wasn't worth their time. Well, that's the theory, right?
Oh, that's not true.
Yeah, I don't talk like that.
Okay. I know you don't. I was just trying to be entertaining or somewhat funny. I fail more than I succeed on that. All right, Texas Tech and Texas on Saturday. The turnover has been the concern, right, here over the last couple of weeks for the Red Raiders, and
just not scoring points, the biggest one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one. Of course.
The turnovers have definitely played into that.
Mm-hmm.
And you've also had some turnovers that played into them scoring points.
Yes.
That's not good.
Pick six, muff punt, things like that have caused you problems. So Coach Kitley was asked about the 3 interceptions in the North Carolina State game and what caused those interceptions.
One of them I felt like it was a bad decision by us. The 4th and short was not a great decision by us. One of them later in the game, I felt like our receiver could have kept his route moving a little bit, and then on another one, I felt like we were trying to sit the receiver down in the hole. So there's a little bit of everything, but at the end of the day, that reverts back to the details and some of those things, and just understanding certain scenarios during the football game and trying to keep ourselves in the right play and ball placement. Some of the.
That's Coach Zach Kitley talking about.
So what'd you take away from that?
Oh, man, it's a little bit of everything. On one end, he said bad decision. Okay, so that's the quarterback who makes the bad decision there, Donovan Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second, and I'm not sure which receiver it was, so you're going to have to help me with that. But clearly, there's somebody not running.
Miles Price.
Okay, so they're not running their route, or they're not finishing their route, or they're not running their route hard enough, or they're not being physical enough, right? Mm-hmm. And then the third one, it was different. I mean, I guess, and I don't know if it's comforting, if it would be more comforting if it was all the same, if the interceptions were the same reason, or if it's more concerning that they're all different. And to me, I lean towards the turnover problem being it's kind of spread throughout. And so that seems to me that it's more concerning, maybe speaks of a young team.
Okay, well, it's what that speaks to me about is that he blamed 2 of the 3 specifically on wide receivers. Mm-hmm. And it speaks to what I've been saying all week long. Our receivers have to be better.
Yeah.
I mean, Donovan Smith is not playing great, and his receivers are playing just as bad or worse. That's what I heard there. Okay. And again, the first one where he said bad decision, we still don't know whether the wrong route was run because the receiver went straight down the field. The pass was made for him to cut in. Mm-hmm. So maybe made the wrong decision. No, or I shouldn't say maybe. Definitely made the wrong decision checking to the pass there on 4th and 1. Mm-hmm. But then we don't know whose fault was with the miscommunication.
Yeah,
was it the receiver or the quarterback?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way he said that leads me to the quarterback.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think I would agree with that.
I think I would too.
Okay, because he said, wrong decision, okay, to start with, but we still don't know the finish. But, I mean, I said this in the Houston game. After the Houston game, our receivers don't compete for balls really well. They don't. The final turnover where Fungi just runs past and doesn't stop and compete for that interception that is returned back to the 20-yard lines was a problem. He just gave up on the play. Miles Price on the second interception on Saturday got bumped and has stopped running. Okay? That's a problem. You need your receivers to compete. So while our quarterback is clearly not playing well, and I'm not trying to say he's playing great, our receivers got to help too. And that's why when there's people that are like, Donovan's terrible, we need to change quarterbacks and all that. It's not all on Donovan. The receivers have to play better. They have to compete. And how many drops? I mean, Coach McGuire mentioned it at halftime.
Sure did.
How many drops in the first half would have moved you along? Okay. And put you in better position to score and not make it look like your offense is inept. You got to catch balls. You got to make plays. I would tell you the position group that has been the most disappointing so far this season is the receivers. And he specifically said there, I mean, you don't have to read between the lines too much. 2 of the interceptions were on the receivers. They got to be better.
Yeah. I mean, how often in basketball do we hear the competition for the 50-50 ball? I mean, it's all the time, right?
Yeah, and you're not winning any. You're not
winning any of those.
The problem is, Chuck, on some of them, you're not even competing. You're not even competing.
Which may be a bigger concern than anything.
Yes. You're not winning those battles because you never get off the ground or you stop running. Mm-hmm. You're not even competing for the 50-50s. They're not 50-50s. They're 0-100s because the defensive back has nobody there with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, while our offenses, the struggles have something to do with the quarterback play, receivers have got to play better. And I feel like they're getting a complete pass. Not literally.
They're not completing the pass. You think because you think the fan base?
If we just focus on the quarterback.
Just focus on the quarterback.
Focus on the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Like bench this guy. He's a bum. He can't throw. The other team keeps catching the ball. He's a bum. Okay. Yeah. Well, your receivers got to do their part too.
Yeah. Harley D says this. Spot on, Jamie. Bo says this. Well said. Pick 6 on 4th down should have been a run. Listen to McGuire's halftime interview on the TV.
Yeah, nobody's debating that.
Yeah.
I mean, the decision on 4th and 1 to throw the ball 15 yards down the field is just head scratching, right?
Yeah.
And although, I mean, running the ball up the middle wasn't working great for you.
Mm-hmm.
So run around the edge or run a quarterback keep or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's not throw for 15, 20 yards down the field.
Yeah.
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 Let's throw a safe pass to a running back out of the backfield. Let's do something. But none of what we decided was good.
Real quick, this observation. Does it look like Miles Price is slower to you? Has he been injured? I don't know. This person says just looks like the speed has been hampered a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's been said that he's banged up.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3. For more from Lubbock Sports Station, go to doublet973.com.